Well, good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather, bringing you my latest update here for really going to focus more on what's coming towards this weekend, but we'll talk a little bit about the longer term here as well. I just want to say some things here at the very beginning. I know many of you are watching this directly from YouTube rather than my blog post. These videos are always embedded in a blog post over on my website, southernindianaweather.com, and whenever I post these to social media, that's where those of you are coming from, is oftentimes from the social media sites. But many of you do subscribe and watch me around the nation because I do show national maps like this. But I just want you to keep in mind, I am focusing primarily here on Southern Indiana. That's where I'm from. And so, if I go back to the last one that I had some great conversation between some of you all, and that's fantastic. I'm always happy to have the comments here on the videos. But, some of you on not only this one, but in previous videos have said, well, but you're not accurate for New England. Well, you're right. I'm not accurate for New England. I don't forecast for New England. I don't forecast up here. I forecast right down in here, primarily for the lower Ohio Valley and specifically for Southern Indiana, and even more specifically, really for Southwestern Indiana. In fact, if you go to my webpage, Facebook page here, you can get a look at my official coverage area, and this is kind of where I hone most of my stuff, is on the southwest corner of Indiana. That's not to say I don't forecast for places like Columbus up here or even Louisville. Some of my stuff is applicable for there, but keep in mind this is the primary area. Southern Indiana Weather Office is located right here in Du Bois County in Huntingburg. So keep that in mind. This is the primary area that I focus on, the Evansville and metro area and kind of surrounding out into the southwest corner of the state. Now, that's not to say that I don't, that I don't cover other areas as well, but I just want to be pointed out that's the primary focus. And because of that, if you are watching these directly from YouTube, sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. So just putting that out there from the very beginning. You're always welcome to watch these things, but if I don't seem to be accurate for you, think about why. If you're outside of my coverage area, I'm probably not going to be accurate for you. So just keep that in mind. All right, so we got some showers here, folks, that are going to be moving in this week. It's going to be a very warm week. 60s and 70s are going to abound this week. Here's those shower activity moving through as you head through the day on Tuesday, and then a bigger storm system rolls through, comes in this weekend, which is what we're really going to focus on. Showers tomorrow, not going to be anything impressive. They might move in a little bit overnight and into the early morning hours tomorrow morning. But again, we're not talking about anything impressive here, maybe a 40 or 50% chance of rain here. Most of the rain will stay down to our south there. It's not a huge chance of rain. It will last most of the day, though, before it moves out. And then we dry out for Wednesday, and we got some more rain to move in as we head Thursday, Friday, in towards the weekend. And that's when this bigger storm system is going to roll through here, and that's what we really want to look at, because the Storm Prediction Center already highlighted the area here around the Ohio Valley and all of southern Indiana included in this, in a slight risk for severe weather already on Friday here. So it's something that we've got to keep in mind. Anytime they're hatching an area this far out, this would be the day 5 outlook. So it's 4 days away. Day 1 being Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, the day 5 outlook. Anytime they're hatching an area already on the day 5 outlook, and they actually hatched this area yesterday on the day 6 outlook, that's some pretty good confidence this far out that something's going on. So let's just take a look at it. Remember, this is a graphic that I've used many times in the past. If you want to get some severe weather, there's some main ingredients that you need. The first, you need some instability, and that comes in the form of warmth and moisture. You also need some wind shear, and specifically you want 35, 40 knots or more of wind shear somewhere up in the atmosphere to get organized severe weather. And you need to have some sort of a lifting mechanism. It can be a front, it can be a low pressure, it can be an upper level disturbance moving through, something to be able to fire those storms off. So let's look at those one-on-one. Let's look at instability first. Temperatures as you go in throughout the day on Friday going to warm well. The GFS this morning is only warming us to the mid 60s across the area, but this is underperforming. I think we could easily reach 70 or better. So the warmth either way is going to be there. And then of course warmth and moisture comes with it as well. The dew point's very high for this time of the year. You're talking upper 50s to near 60. Dew points around the area. Precipitable water, well, there's just that plume of moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico ahead of the front here. So the warmth and the moisture is going to be there, and of course that will produce a little bit of instability. And if you look at our CAPE product, convective available potential energy, that's a measure of instability into the atmosphere, and that's what's what's in the shadings here, and you can see, well, here at the Southern Indiana Weather Office, this would be, by the way, about 7 p.m. on Friday night, which is approximately the time I think a lot of this is going to get going. I think what I see in the modeling indicates probably not going to have much thunderstorm development on Friday during the daytime, because I think the atmosphere is going to be capped, sort of put a lid on that, and that will be, and if that cap holds true, once the storms start to fire, it's going to be later in the day. That'll allow us to build up some instability. And, you see that on the modeling right here, 800 units, 800 joules per kilogram there of instability here around the weather office. Well, that's pretty good for February. I mean, that's nothing whenever it comes to summer weather, but for February, that's pretty darn impressive here. And, anywhere from 400 to 800, 900, even 1,000 units of instability around the area, that's more than enough for some organized severe weather. Notice the one thing though, the wind barbs here you're looking at winds here at the surface, up at the the low level jet area up in blue, the 850 millibar level. And then in the black, you're about, you're several thousand feet up here in the atmosphere at the 500 millibar level. But what I want you to see is notice that they are just about unidirectional here. Right out ahead of the front, there is a little bit of veering. Here at the surface, you've got winds coming down from the south. And as you go up, you've got winds coming from the southwest. As that front, this would be about the time the front is starting to move through part of the area here. And with that front right along it here, where the best instability is going to be, you got mostly unidirectional winds. That would be a very low tornado threat right there, because what you're seeing is no change in wind direction as you go up through the atmosphere. So that would make a very marginal tornado threat there. Don't think tornado is the biggest threat here. Now, it's not to say that you can rule them out. There is a little bit of change in direction, but just not all that much. The speed shear would be the bigger factor here as you go through the atmosphere. So wind energy, of course, being the second ingredient. And if you look at our bulk shear parameter, this is just a measure of change in wind speed as you go from the surface up to 500 millibars, around 40,000 feet or so up in the atmosphere. And what you see is, 65 to 70 knots of bulk shear here around the area. That's more than enough. Again, remember, you need 35 to 40 knots of wind shear somewhere in the atmosphere to be able to get organized severe weather. Not only you got the instability, that's a check, but you've also got the bulk shear. And in fact, if you take it down to around 4,000 feet over us, looking at the low-level jet, we've got an impressive low-level jet moving in here around 50 knots or so. So again, that's winds here about 4,000 feet up. And so if you just look up into the atmosphere and you see the cloud deck, just sort of the low clouds just sort of racing across you, what you're seeing visually is the low-level jet there. So it won't take much for a thunderstorm to be able to tap into that energy and bring it down to the surface. So I think the slight risk this far out definitely is justified. We'll have to fine-tune these details as we get a little bit closer, but the ingredients are lining up. And then, of course, the third thing that we need, not just the instability, not just the wind shear, but we also need a lifting mechanism. And here it is on your Friday. There's your surface front out to our west on Friday morning. That will swing through the evening so that it is all the way through by the time you move into Saturday. So that front is going to be the trigger, if you will, that once the cap is broken, once the lid is off of the atmosphere, those storms can start to fire. Now, what kind of storms would we see? Initially, probably some, more of an individual cell kind of development, but they will explode rather quickly, I would suspect, on Friday evening, and then probably congeal into some lines. So I do think damaging winds is probably going to be the bigger threat at this, possibly some hail with it. But again, I think damaging winds and some very heavy rain, the biggest threats along with this, as I see it right now anyway. The tornado threat probably pretty low with this, with those directional winds just being pretty much unidirectional. I wouldn't think too much about tornadoes at this point. We are still 4 days out from this event, so of course things as we get a little bit closer to time will be a little bit more fine-tuned. But as of right now, the ingredients are all lining up, so you want to take this weather situation seriously. Is this going to be an outbreak of epic proportions? No, but you'll want to be weather aware Friday evening, because I do think there's a good chance that we could see some strong severe thunderstorms around the area. Again, with damaging winds and heavy rain being the primary threats, hail and tornadoes being a little bit more of the secondary threats with that. Now, how long will this warmth last? Well, if you just look at the ensemble data over the next couple of weeks, winter, oh, where art thou? Nowhere to be found. Behind this front, we cool down on Friday night to the upper 30s. By the time we wake up on Sunday morning, we're in the upper 20s. So we've got a couple of days here of chillier weather. And the weekend will hit, upper 40s to near 50. So that's going to be certainly colder than the 60s, the mid 60s to near 70 that we're going to see this week. And again, I think Friday may be overshooting it. I think 70s could be possible with this on Friday. But it's only temporary, because watch this, we rebound right back up to upper 50s and 60s, and then we're into March. Now, some of the longer range data is hinting that we see a little bit more of a cool down as we head into the mid part of March, but again, that's a long ways away. Those longer range data is very underperforming, let's just say, this far out. So, I do think there is a chance that we could see another cool down again, but I don't see it being epic proportions of a cool down. I don't see a below zero, anything like that. I think winter's just about over with. I'll go out on a limb here and say I'll be surprised if we see any more snow this year at all. The warmth is pretty much here to stay. I think what you're going to see is occasionally a front will move through and will knock temperatures back for a couple of days like what we see here. Then you're going to warm right back up. I think spring weather is here mostly to stay. As you head later on until March, this may extend out to a week or so of cooler weather. But again, overall, beyond this, it's going to be more warmth than it is cold. And really, I don't see any sign of winter returning at this point. I see maybe a cool snap, but nothing more than a transient cool snap, really, at this point. So if you like spring, here you go. The groundhog lied to you. I see this as an early spring. Of course, this could make also for an early and active severe weather season as well. We're already seeing that. This is our second, severe weather risk here within the past just a little short time frame here. So that may be a predictor of what's to come. I could see an active severe weather season coming in. So we haven't had one of those for a while, so be prepared for that. Bottom line, folks, it's a severe weather alert day on Friday. We don't know the specifics completely this far out as timing. It does look more towards the evening hours at this point. Again, all modes possible, but damaging winds your primary threat. You'll want to keep it here tuned to Southern Indiana weather as you go through later on here. If you just go to facebook.com/Southern Indiana weather, you'll be able to find all kinds of updates from me there as well. You can also find me on Twitter, twitter.com, and I am at Southern INWX. You'll be able to find me there for lots more updates as we head a little bit closer to time. That's it for this update, folks. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite for SouthernIndianaWeather.com. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.